Hello there, welcome back to Planet Zoo and welcome back to Lunar Zoo. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your company as always. So today we are going to be building a habitat for our family of beavers, and they will be going in eventually over in this area over here. However, first up we are doing a few other little details just before I get started on that habitat. I don't know if you'll remember in our last episode, obviously we put in our sun bears here and they're happily swimming around. However, we had a few areas that were just a little bit blank, so I've started a bit of work here. So this is our leopard habitat that we built a few episodes ago, and we had a lot of space around the outside here that was all left empty, this bit over here as well, and indeed this bit around here. And so I thought before I worked on the next habitat I would finish all of this off by filling in the gaps. So that's what I've done. So first I'll put this building in here. So this is just a simple building with what is it, a chip shop and a milkshake, is it? Yeah, I don't know, ice cream. So ice cream and chips in there. So the building's gone in, still a little bit of detailing to be done on that. And then I've continued the rock work from the existing rock work that I did up here, just continued it around this side of this this pathway. So you've now got this second path that comes down here and joins in here, and then it comes all the way around the back here, this slightly larger path to join in with the sun bears over here. Just filling in the gaps gently, putting in a couple of these nice big trees here. So you've got a poplar. What is this? Is this poplar? Yeah, black poplar tree. And then here on the corner I went with a Himalayan pine, so that kind of suits the theming from in here. I just like the look of having this massive tree on the corner here, and just gently filling in underneath with some of this what is this one? It's a moss, isn't it? Caribou moss. I like the look of that under there, and just a few ferns, a couple of little bits of colour splashed along the rocks here, but I didn't want to do too much in here. Got rid of the grass and replaced all the grass with dirt, because it didn't make sense to have grass growing in there. So yeah, we're keeping it sort of fairly minimal and basic. I didn't want this full of plants or anything along here. It didn't really make sense with the rocks being there. And then over here, so obviously I've still got all of this to fill in here, around this entrance gate here, gaps here. This edge along here as well. Obviously I have put this poplar in here, and then I have this corner here, and I've decided to put a little shop in this one as well, and simply because there's not a lot of shops in the zoo yet, and actually in real zoos you do tend to find quite a few little food sort of vendors around, so I decided to fit one of these in here. And obviously that means a lot of work going on around it, so I need to put a structure around that. So that is the plan next. And of course this walkway up here needs a bit of custom fencing putting around it as well, so that people can't fall off the edge, and obviously more rock work to go on all along here. So I thought I'd get all of that done as part of this video before I actually move on to building the habitat. So I'm going to crack on with that, and we'll get all of this finished before we move on to looking at the beaver habitat. So let me continue with that, and I'll be right back. Right, so I've done a load more rock work here. So I filled in this gap between the two paths, the raised path and the lower path, and again I've just dotted a few bits of colour along here. Some of these little plants, these purple plants, just continuing the same theme. A few nettles and ferns as well, and then I've done this custom fence around the top. I like this, it's really simple but it looks nice and sturdy, which is obviously what's important in this sort of fence. So just a simple log fence all the way around here, and eventually ending over there. Really simple, but it looks really good. It looks strong, it looks safe, and obviously the kind of the theme works with the rest of the structures around here as well. And then down here on this corner, because I've decided obviously this is an entrance way to get up to see the clouded leopards, I decided to go with an information board down here. So I built one here for if you're walking from this direction. I thought that's a good place to have one. And then I thought, well, what if you're walking from this direction? If you're coming down here, and eventually there'll be a path that comes around the back here in some way and connects to here. So I thought, well, if you're coming from this direction, you kind of need one as well. So I did another one here. And then I thought, well, what if you're actually walking along here? You can't see either of them until you've gone around the corner. So then I put another one there. So I ended up doing a small sort of, I don't know, what's that, a half hexagon is that? I think hexagon is 6, isn't it? So yeah, I think, or is that 5? No, that's pentagon, isn't it? Pentagon 5, hexagon 6. I think that's right. So it's a semi hexagon shaped information board there for the clouded leopards, which I kind of like. I think that looks kind of cool. Put in a hedge at the back, just a little creosote bush there, just to give it a little bit of texture as well, to sort of fill in the gap. Looks a bit silly at the back if you don't cover it up. Yeah, so there we go. So that's that. So that all looks really nice. I'm very pleased with this nice bit of fencing that I've done along here. I'm pleased with that. And obviously the rock work along here looks really cool. I love how flat it is. Really gives you a sense of height when you're down here. Gives you that sense of, oh, this, you know, there's something up there. I really want to go up there and see what's going on. And then it just blends into the bushes here as well. So the last thing I need to do is just build a structure around here. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with how this turns out. So I will load that up now and show you what I came up with. Right, so we finished our detailing. I wanted to just bring you back round to this original building that I put in. And I wanted to do something on the walls here. Just something a bit different. I didn't want to do what I usually do and put beams on the corners and that sort of thing. So I came up with the idea of making some patterns with the arch shapes and just sinking them in. They don't mean anything. They're not meant to look like anything. They're simply green blobs. But you know what? I kind of like it. It's something a bit different. And that is what I'm trying to do in this zoo, is just come up with different ideas for decorating. So I kind of like it. I used a couple of these. Actually, what are these pieces? I can't quite remember. African hut base worked quite nice. I just sunk them in and angled them, and they make these nice little roof pieces. And then I sunk one of these in as well, these little furnace things. What is it? It's not a furnace, a kiln, that's it. I don't know, it looks alright, doesn't it? Just sort of gives that suggestion that they're cooking stuff, even though there's chips and ice cream. You probably wouldn't be cooking ice cream, would you? But you might be cooking chips in one of these. I don't know, I just think it looked kind of nice. I had to, because I wanted it at the right height, so what I actually had to do here, as you can see, instead of just putting another rock underneath, I flipped one of these upside down, so that's actually another one of them underground there as well, just to make it look a little bit deeper at the bottom here. But yeah, I kind of like it. It's fine, you know. It's something a bit different, isn't it? So that is what I did there. And then around here, I'm very pleased with what I came up with around here, actually. So this is our other building that I've just put in. So we have this lovely little tunnel coming under here, which I really like. So it's probably best viewed from over here. So this was our little shop. So it's a little milkshake shop here. So I built a brick building around it initially, and then I thought, well, I want to link it with this. I thought it might look really nice if I can link it. That's what I'm kind of doing with a lot of the stuff in this zoo, is linking stuff together and creating archways and tunnels. And so that's what I did. So I just extended it sideways, put in an archway here and an archway over here. I had to manipulate the buildings a bit. So this is done in a few separate pieces, because I had to angle the walls a bit differently inside to make everything match up. But it, you know, it wasn't too tricky, so it worked quite nicely actually. And up the top here again, this roof just stuck into here a little bit, so I just had to add in a couple of extra rock pieces here just to cover up the corner of this roof that was sticking in, because I didn't want to lose the structure of the roof, and I couldn't really move it up or down or anything there, so I just had to cover it up. But that's fine. And then I filled in around it, so I wanted to continue the hedge theme that I'd used over here. So that continues to here, and then it continues in this gap here. And obviously I then use an archway here to link it to this hedging over here. So when you zoom out, the hedge theme that I started all the way over here, really, it just continues along here, and then, you know, links all the way around here, and eventually sort of back to here again. And yeah, I think that works really, really nicely. Just a few shrubs as well, nothing too fancy in here, and again in here just a couple of shrubs. Put a taller one on the corner here just to cover up some of this blank wall here. and then down here I filled this gap in with the same shrubs that I'd used in these borders just here, just to continue that same theme all the way along to here. And again, I put these green blobs on the wall. These ones are a little bit different. If you remember these ones over here, I kind of blended the blobs together to create large blobs, and then there's a few separate blobs separate. So I just love the word blob. But over here I didn't. I just put them on separately, and you know, just a little bit different. I don't know why. I don't know what they signify. They just look a bit different and a bit cool. I don't know, I like it. I don't know if you do, but I do, and that's what matters. And then the hedge, I continued the hedge. I wanted, again, just to use the edging, the hedge edging all the way through here. And then it just continues all the way along until eventually you get to this ramp leading up to the hippo viewing platform. And then again, I just got rid of the grass in this border and just made it all dirt. Just one or two more shrubs in here. And that's it. There we go. And I want a couple of blobs on the back here as well, just, you know, just to decorate this back wall a little bit too. And that is that. Really pleased with how that all turned out, actually. And I love this building. I love how it connects this raised area here to the lower area over here. It makes it a little bit less harsh going from such a height to low down. Kind of, you know, gradually drops down then, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm really pleased with what I've come up with there. I like that. And all of that, in fact, I think it all looks really nice, even if I do say so myself. Never mind. You've got to congratulate yourself sometimes, haven't you? You know, when you do something that you really like, you know, be proud of your hard work and the results of all your efforts. I'm sure you do the same when you're building your own zoos. Right, so that is that corner all finished. So I just really wanted to get all of those details just finished, so this area was done before I then move on to the proper habitat within this video. So let's move over to where that is going to happen, and it is going to be over in this area here. So this entire corner here, I say corner, it's not a corner at all, but this area here is going to become a large beaver habitat. So that is what I'm going to get to work on next. So without further delay, let me get on and load up my next save point, and I can start showing exactly what I planned. Excuse me, my basic structure of what I'm trying to achieve. So I want to have two large water areas, obviously with a waterfall going from this to this, and then from here into the water. And then this is where our dams will come in. As you know, beavers build dams. So there will be a kind of a dam here and a dam here, more so down here actually in the main lake, I think, which will just be a huge knot of all the dead trees, basically, all intermingled with each other there. And then they've got a nice sort of deep bit of water and some shallow water around here to swim around in as well, a little island in the middle too. And then what I want to do, and I know the game doesn't allow this, but in real life, beavers have a den, and the only way they can get into the den is actually underwater. So they'll have a small tunnel underwater, which they would go through. So basically their dam would be here. In fact, their dam wouldn't really be here. Their dam would be where a stream or a river flows into the water. And then what they do, they build their den essentially inside their dam, and the access to it is underwater. That's what I'm trying to say. So what I'm going to do in the game, because it needs to be a bit different, I'm going to have this area here that is going to be their den. I'm going to put a tunnel in under the water that leads up inside it, but they won't use that. I know they won't use that because the game doesn't allow any, as far as I know, the game doesn't allow any animal to swim from an area under land and come up in another water area. For some reason it can't allow them to do that. So they won't swim from here through the tunnel and up the other side, which is a real shame because that's exactly what these animals would do. But so what it means is I'm going to do that anyway. I'm going to create that tunnel just so it's there. But what I will also have to do is make sure there's a land entrance at the side here somewhere for the beavers to actually get into their bed. And then the rest of this is going to be a lot of rock work, obviously, all around these areas. and then lots of various decorating all around the rest of it. But the main feature of the whole area will be the large dam that I create probably here. And I've got a bit of an idea of what I want to do here, because again, because of this building being sort of large and fairly boring really on the outside, I'm trying to find creative ways of making the outside a bit more interesting. So I've got an idea of what I want to do with a viewing platform around this area here. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, so that's our basic idea. So you can get an idea of the size of the area that I'm working with here. So it's quite a large thing. So I'm going to have quite a family of beavers in here. In real life, you'd only get sort of probably a pair and then their offspring, and then eventually their offspring would move away and create their own dam and sort of territory elsewhere. But because it's a large area and because it's a computer game, I will probably have I don't know, sort of 8 or so beavers in here, purely so that you can actually see them, because it is such a big area and they're quite small animals. So let me move on, and we'll see what I got up to next. I have the start of our dam structure in here now. So you can see I've just used all these different types of dead trees on their side, all angled at all sorts of funky angles and put together like this. And I think it's a really effective looking dam actually. I think that looks pretty cool, with a simple waterfall put in behind it here, so all the water's just coming down through it. And then I've done a lot of landscaping. So this is going to be their bed area here, and they've got water leading into it. So the water I've had to create, this is their land tunnel essentially. So this is how they're actually going to be able to get in and out. So there's water just in there, just nice shallow water they can walk through and get up onto their bed. And this is the underground tunnel that I said I was going to make. So I've done that. So it's in here. Nice and shallow, so in real life this is exactly what they would do, and then they come up here on the outside underneath their dam. So they're not going to be able to use that. They don't go through it, unfortunately, even though they could. It's just not how the game works, unfortunately, but there we go. As you can see, they do go in there. So we've got a couple of beavers in. So we have Mbe and we have Sirius. Oh no, Cearless, sorry. So they're our first pair just in there, just so I can actually see where they can walk around. So let me just show you their traversable area as it is at the moment. So you can see they can swim around everywhere. They can obviously just about squeeze through this little gap and move around inside their bed. I also want them to be able to come up right on top of both of these water areas. So I've started with this, just a small rock slope at the back here leading up to this one. And my plan with this, originally I did try and create this whole area using terraformed land over the top, but it's so hard to do a thin layer of land that I'm not going to do that, because it just didn't work basically. So I'm going to do it with rocks. So there's going to be a flat sort of rock roof on here, which will link into this and then eventually up onto this upper level here as well. But yeah, there we are. So our beavers are pretty happy in here now. I think the beavers look really good actually. He's one of the new animals in the game, and well, they're just cute, aren't they? As most of the animals in this game are actually. I love the way they just push themselves through the water with their back feet. Yeah, they're very, very cool animals, beavers. Really, really good for the environment actually. Here in the UK we are starting to reintroduce beavers in certain areas of the country, and they do so much good. People probably think they're quite destructive because they gnaw down trees and they build dams and block waterways, but actually it's so good for the environment, because what they do, they block off some waterways, but then it creates dozens of side streams where the water gets diverted, and it can actually really enrich an environment, forcing new waterways to develop. And obviously water is the key of life essentially. So what it can do, it can really bring extra diversity into an area when you've got a new stream or river running through it. So as long as it's done carefully, where the beavers are reintroduced, they can really re-enrich an area. And yeah, so that's certainly happening here in the UK. It's a slow process and a long process, but it's going to happen, and it is happening. And they are breeding. We've got some new baby beavers that have been bred in the wild now, so it's really exciting, really good to see. There we go. So that's where we're up to so far. So there's an awful lot to do, but we are getting there, and yeah, lots of structure work still to do. So that I think that's probably what I continue with next, but we shall find out. So let me continue on to the next save game. So more rock work done. So not a huge update here, just to show you what I've done. I copied the same waterfall structure that I had down here up onto this level here, and obviously just built some rocks around it and in the water as well here. And then I used this foam effect here to show the water flowing from one to the other. And I've also put in another slope here so the animals, the beavers, can come up eventually. Obviously I haven't quite finished off at the back here, but they'll be able to come up this slope here and onto this top level, and they'll probably be able to come up from eventually the roof of their bed area onto this as well. And then the rest of this at the moment is just filled up with some of these big rocks. I'm not too sure how I'm going to finish all of this off and fill in this back area here. I think just lots and lots of rock work probably. I'm not doing any more of this dam on here. I think this looks fine as it is. There may be one or two logs put up here, but nothing quite as major as this. However, I will be using some more log structures elsewhere. I've also just added some more in down here. So this is the same thing. So what I did with this, I created a structure like that, and then I've just copied and pasted it and turned it around a bit, so there's sort of 3 or 4 of them in there. And then I've just put a couple further down in the water here as well, just to really fill it up and make it look very busy and look like the beavers have really been working hard, you know. Yeah. So yeah, it's coming along, isn't it? I think you sort of get the idea of what it's going to look like eventually, and I think it's going to look pretty good. Oh, I also just put in a couple of these splashing effects at the top here as well, because obviously if the water comes down here and then it hits all these logs, it would splash up. So there's a couple of these splashing effects just at the top here with the water as well. So I think that looks pretty cool as a waterfall. I think it works quite nicely now. So yeah, pretty happy with all that. Pretty happy with this bit here as well. It's tricky with these edges, trying to create a nice waterfall effect, but you've then got to cover up the glass with this rock, so it doesn't look great because you end up with the water coming out of the rock. So you just do what you can, really. And even the waterfall effect itself is a pain, because you have to use these jets, which again are very hard to cover up when you angle them in such a way that they look good here. They don't look good here, you see, so you can see the water here, like the jets. It's a shame that there really isn't a good piece in the game, water piece, that looks like this, apart from this. But that presents its own problems, unfortunately. But hey ho, there we go. That's life. You have to deal with whatever's in the game, don't you? Right, so I really need to crack on, because there's going to be there's still an awful lot to do in this video, and I don't want the video to end up being too long. And as you can see, this is quite a large project, and I'm waffling on quite a lot already. So I'm gonna press on straight away and see what I do next. Okay, so you see I've done quite a lot of work now. So I decided to put another mini dam in over here. Almost just like they've stored the logs over here. I don't know, it doesn't make a lot of sense because they probably wouldn't build a second dam over here, but I just think it looked good, so that's gone in over there. And then I needed a bit of a forest over here so that it showed that they had gnawed off bits here. In fact, I mean, looking at it now, these should be sunk further into the ground, because obviously they're not going to be gnawing them off up here, are they? They're going to gnaw them off down the bottom. So that is something that I maybe need to change. But it could also look like the keepers, the actual zookeepers, have sawed these off and left them down, and then the beavers have put them into place. I don't know. I mean, let's be honest, these logs are too big for the beavers to actually move them themselves, so it would all be artificially made for them, I guess. But obviously the pieces aren't in the game to create a realistic looking dam, are they, for these beavers? So you just have to go with what you got. So there we go. So that was the idea of having these trees here. So you got some nice fully grown ones, and then a load of stumps as well. And then over here, I finished off the rock work around here. I did what I said. I did put in a couple of logs on here, a couple of trees as well, some proper trees at the back, and then a couple of dead ones here, a couple of stumps as well. I finished off the slope at the back here, so the beavers can come up and into the water at the top. I also put on the roof of the habitat here, and again I put in a slope there so that they can come up into the water there, and they can come up this bit here of the ground. So there's lots of space for the beavers to walk around, and they can still come down in here. So this is their little cave down here now. Got a few roots sticking through, but I don't mind that. But they can still come in here and sleep and have a little swim as well. So yeah, really pleased with how that turned out. Actually, that looks pretty cool, I think. So if you just highlight one of these and show you their traversable area, you'll see that they can go all over the place. So they can get right up onto the water here, up onto the roof of their house as well. In fact, one thing I do change is this log, I remember, because that's blocked them off, so they couldn't go from this side to this side. So I do move that. I can't remember how, but I do move this log into a slightly different position so that they can actually go all the way through there. And I don't think I moved this one. I don't mind that they couldn't get from there to there, because that encourages them to potentially go all the way up there and down. But yeah, it's looking good. I really liked building this habitat. It was a lot of fun, very creative, and I just think it's a lovely sort of environment to create this sort of woodland and all these waterfalls and things. It's what I really enjoy working with in the game. And obviously beavers are a new animal, and so coming up with new ideas of what sort of habitat that they would want to live in. Here we go. Let's follow this little dude inside, shall we? So they have to swim into their bedroom, which I kind of like. That worked out nicely with the water filling up this bit as well. So they have to swim into their little cave here, so that they can go and have a little snooze. Although he's going to come back out, isn't he? Just to prove me wrong, he's not going to go in. He's going to come back out again. But never mind, he's happy. He's all good. It's all good. Right, so yeah, let's move swiftly on, shall we, and see what I get up to next. Some vegetation gone in here just to try and sort of finish it off. You'll also see we have some more beavers. So there are, ooh, how many? There's quite a few. There's a nice big family of beavers in here now, all swimming around nice and happy. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of finish off the habitat really. So you'll see up here I moved the logs sideways here so they can now walk. Oh, that's a good demonstration here. So you can now see that they can walk from one side of this bit to the other, as he is doing. Look at him. Happy beaver. So bush-wise, I've gone with the creosote, the bramble, the turkey bush, is it? I always forget. Yeah, crimson turkey bush. So kept it, again, pretty colourless. It's that same sort of environment as I did it with the sun bear enclosure. You don't want too much colour because it's meant to be sort of mountainous and fairly dead, because obviously you've got the theme of all the dead wood, so you don't want lots of bright coloured flowers and things. It wouldn't look right. So that's what I've done there. I did another one of these dead trees onto the island here as well. A couple more stumps over here and some of this scavola bush as well. Looks really good. Again, just over here some scavola. Really simple. Didn't want to overfill it with shrubbery. Few just here just to try and sort of cover up the entrance a bit to their lair, you know. I'm not doing anything really with the water. I put a feeder in there, but other than that, I'm not really going to be decorating the water. There's not a lot of point. There is some shallow area here, but the beavers would just destroy everything basically that's in there. If there were reeds growing, for example, they would just eat them. They would gnaw them down. So there's no point in having stuff like that. It wouldn't last with beavers. So that's not going to happen. I think it looks absolutely fine as it is. So that is kind of the habitat itself done. Still a bit of manipulation with the border to do. I think I do keep this as the border though. I will have to check that, but I'm pretty sure I do, and I'm pretty sure I extend the trees as well around the back just to really sort of thicken it out a bit more. But the main thing that I still needed to do was to come up with something along here as a viewing area, and that was when I really started having a bit of fun. So let's crack on, shall we? Oh, sorry, I have also put some enrichment items in. I've got a feeder up here. I haven't put many in. I do put more in. I've got a feeder there, and I think I've got a feeder over here somewhere as well. Yeah, I've got a block of ice one there, oh yes, and a melon as well. This is quite a cool little one. This melon is a new one in the game. That one. So I like them, but I do put more in as well. Oh yes, there's one on the island, a little ice, a small ice ball one there as well. But yeah, I do put some more enrichment items in later on as well. But yeah, let's crack on, shall we, and see what I come up with our viewing area. Right, so the basic structure is in now for our viewing platform. I wanted it to be a large viewing platform. Lots of space for people to walk around and get a good view of the beavers. So it took me a little bit of manipulation to get the path how I wanted. And obviously it has gone into the building, but the good thing is, because of what's inside this building here, this is obviously the reptile house, so you've got, excuse me while I work it out, so you've got all of this structure here, you see. So I could actually get the pathway, as you can see here, inside the building, but you can't see it because it's hidden by all of this. So I could get away with it basically, and so I could blend it in perfectly along the edge of the building here, and then out the side here as well. So yeah, it took a bit of fiddling, but it got there in the end exactly how I wanted. So you've got a slope on one side and stairs on the other. I've started work on a sign here. This still needs a bit of work, but Beaver Lodge, you get the idea. I love this little beaver picture, looks fantastic. I couldn't resist using that. So yeah, so that's the name of the habitat, is Beaver Lodge, and I thought it made a nice kind of entrance way here. So yeah, there's still work to be done with the sign. For the actual platform itself, I went with these big sturdy logs again because I wanted it to look really strong. And obviously I had to go into the habitat so that the beavers can actually walk along underneath, and obviously I needed the staff to be able to get underneath as well, so they can, so that's good. But it really allows you to get up close. If you're standing on the corner here, the beavers are just going to be right below you, as you can see just there. So you can get really up close and personal with them, which I really, that's what I wanted. I really wanted them to look, to be seen up close. So I went with these wooden beams just to cover up the concrete edges. So I think that looks, again, my favourite term, simple and effective. Oh, excuse me, I think I'm about to sneeze. If I sneeze at you, I do apologise. I can feel a sneeze on the way. I will try and avoid it. Right, so yeah, so that again, I edged the pathways here as well with the same beams, and then just continued them all the way along here and down this side. And then I wanted to do a fence, and I wanted it to be a custom fence. I didn't want to just use the in-game stuff. And this is what I came up with. I'm really pleased with what I found here. Can you guess what piece this is? Do you recognise it? It's a window. And all I've done with this window is turn it upside down. You'll see there's the window at the bottom. But I saw this bit and I thought, well, that looks like a really good looking fence. So I've just turned it upside down and made a fence out of it. And I think that looks really cool. It's something a bit different. That's what I'm trying to do in this video. I'm really trying to be creative with all the in-game pieces and use them in different ways. So there we go. So I've used a window as a fence, and I think it looks pretty cool. It was a little bit tricky coming down the slope here, but I got there in the end. Trying to link them together like this, it doesn't really work when you do stranger angles, but I got there in the end, and obviously it just sinks into the ground here, so I'll do something with this bit eventually. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how that turned out. I think it looks pretty cool. However, I am nowhere near finished yet because I didn't want to just leave it open. I really wanted this to have a shelter over the top of it as well. Obviously I still needed to work on this sign a little bit as well because I wasn't happy with how that looked, and there's lots of detailing still to do all around it on both sides, just over here with this sort of gap here as well, and working around the back. I've deleted the trees from the back here that were here, the oak trees, so there will be room for some more normal trees along the back, and I have put some more enrichment items inside the habitat. So you've got a feeding platform over here. You've got a melon feeder up on the top here as well. A beach ball up on the top there. I think that might be it. I might put one or two more in here. I don't know, what's this one? Oh, that's a bush. That's not what I wanted to click on, was it? What's that? Oh, that's the frozen fruit block. Okay, yeah, that was there before. That's the melon feeder. So yes, I think that was probably all the extras that I put in. Actually, I think this tree might be a new tree as well. I'm not sure. I'm always just adding in little details here and there as I move along. I just go back and I think, yep, that gap needs something, so I'll stick something in. Oh, there's another feeding platform there as well, actually. So yeah, so that is coming along quite nicely now. So still bits and pieces to do. So I will, I will crack on with the next save point and see how I get along with it. We have our roof. So this roof piece here, this is the same that I've used, on this one, on the penguin habitat here. So it's the same thing. You can recolor it, and so that's what I've done, and I think that looks pretty cool. I may change these colors, I think, before the final product. But we'll see that as and when I get to it. I've done a little bit more manipulation on the sign here, so I put in a corner beam here. I've also just changed the colouring a bit, and I've doubled this up. I think this looks really cool, actually, this beaver bit here. So this, all you do here, you have the main 6 letters, and then you copy and paste, you move them back, and then you move them up and sideways, and you do it 4 times, and you end up with this nice sort of background writing behind it, and it really makes it pop and stand out, doesn't it? It looks so much better. So yeah, very happy with how that looked. I did contemplate doing the same with the lodge, but because the beaver is the important bit, that's the name of the animal, I didn't want them to look the same. You know, I wanted that to stand out a lot more than that, so that's why I've only done it with that. But I think that looks really cool. I think that might be how the signs finish up. I can't quite remember. It's been a little while since I did it. And then I done the same over here. Obviously I had to change the sign because this is a much wider pathway. But again, it's just Beaver Lodge, nice and simple. And then this roof here. Again, I managed to get away with something here because the roof obviously disappears inside this building again. But again, I got away with it, although, oh no, I haven't. So that's quite visible. I need to change that. I missed that bit. That corner sticks in there, so I do need to hide that. But that'll be quite easy. I can do that with a bit of rock. But other than that, the roof is all kind of hidden. So it's it's not too bad. But I hadn't noticed that, so I will have to come in later and change that. But that'll be easy to do. That is always the problem with using pieces like this. You know, you can't manipulate the bits you don't want to see, which is a real shame. But there we go. So I didn't have to do too much else really. I needed obviously some posts, so I went with these nice thick African posts. So you've got them on the corners. Obviously I wanted it overhanging here because I wanted to make it an interesting shape. I didn't want it to just follow the shape of the path, so I went with a square at this end. And so I needed to have obviously large posts here coming down right into the habitat, but I thought that looked cool anyway. And inevitably in this corner I ended up with a post in the middle of the pathway, but it's absolutely fine. That's not a problem at all. People can just walk around it. And then under here I put in a couple of these lovely wooden picnic tables. Really like these because they're very modern looking, but they're also, because the wood, they really sort of match the theme of what I'm doing in here. Obviously you've got the nice wooden pathway, what am I talking about? The wooden fence that I've made here. You've got the wooden logs as the pathway. This is all wood coloured. You've got all the woods obviously inside the habitat as well. So that's kind of the theme of the whole thing, is wood, because it's beavers, and obviously beavers are known for chopping down wood. So that's the reason why I went with those particular picnic tables. And we've just got a few media screens on the inside here, so when people are stood here, they can be reading about the beavers while they're watching them. And on the roof here I just put in a few of these little lights. Again, these nice wooden looking lights. I've just angled them sideways, and let's just turn out the lights and you can see what effects they have. I think they look pretty good. They don't do too much. Obviously there's 2 sets, you've got a set there as well. They just add that little bit of light under there so that people could sit down and sit down in the dark there. Windows on the building, obviously I left these 2 in, but I had to get rid of a couple along here. And again, I have left these ones in because they're still visible. But yeah, just had to lose a couple of windows on there, but that's fine. So yeah, there we go. It's coming along very nicely. So still just a few more details to go, and we're not too far from being finished. So I think possibly just one more segment and we will be done with our beaver habitat. So here we are with our finished product. So lots of detailing really. So I had some gaps to fill in, particularly around this area here. So I just created a small log edge to the pathway there leading up to the entrance to the habitat, and then I needed obviously a gap here, so I just put some hydrangeas in, one of these lovely orange trees. Continued the trees around the back here as well, just the same trees as you've got inside the habitat, these lovely pines, and some more of them all the way around the back as well and into this corner. Haven't done them all the way around because I don't know what else I'm going to be building around here yet. Filled this corner in again here, just some simple bushes and a couple of trees. So I didn't want them too dense because I don't want to completely spoil the view. Particularly here I was a bit concerned about having these tall trees here, but actually because you can still see the sign, I think it works quite nicely because you can kind of, if you're coming in from over here, you can see the trees, which looks really cool. And then as you would come around here, you would see, oh, beaver. Yeah, that's, you know, that's going to grab your eye and you're going to go, oh, do you know what? I don't want to go and see the chimps. I want to go this way and see the beavers. So you would come around here and you can instantly go, right, Beaver Lodge, you can walk up there. You don't need to see anything here. See, you can't see anyway. So even if these trees weren't here, there really isn't anything to see anyway. So that would encourage you to come and walk up here, and obviously then you can see into the habitat. And there are beavers all over the place. It's great. I love it. Yeah, quite a few beavers in there. I did also, like I said, I did just change the colouring of this roof. It was a little too bright. There was one of the browns in particular that was very bright, and so I just darkened them a bit. And I think that looks a bit nicer now. I also put a new edge on as well, actually. I put this this wooden beam edge along the side. Not convinced by it, but I felt like it just needed an edge of some sort. It needed something to smarten up the edge. I didn't like the look of the edge as it was, and I liked the light colour. I didn't want everything to be dark. I kind of liked the contrast between the dark and the light. You might think differently, but there we go. That's what I've done. And that is it, I think. I don't think there was anything else going on. The sign has stayed as it is. I do like the sign. I love this beaver. I love this little picture of the beaver here. I think that's really cool. And we're basically done. So there we go. So that is our beaver habitat. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. I love this. The dam. I like how I've managed to manipulate all the trees and this whole waterfall area here. I did do a few more bits of vegetation up here to try and cover up all the obvious bits of the water fountains that you could see under here, and just a couple more bushes here. I also needed a source of the water, so I put one of these splashes in at the back here to suggest that there's some sort of pump pumping the water out here, and then a few of these nice foam effects to show that it's flowing as well, so that it actually looks like a proper stream that's flowing into the waterfall, another stream, another waterfall with a dam, and down and splashing into the water. And I think that looks pretty cool. I'm very happy with how that all looks in the end. And indeed, I'm pretty happy with the whole habitat, actually. I think it's turned out really nice. I certainly think if you didn't know what animal was in there, I think you would instantly know. As soon as you saw all these piles of logs, I think you'd instantly figure out that there's beavers in there. So yeah, overall, very, very pleased. And I'm very happy with how I've managed to build this bit on the corner here. Again, just trying to break up this huge building that I've put in. With some different types of structures connected to it around the outside as well, and that's something that I'm going to have to continue doing around all of this area here as well. But for now, that is going to be it. That is our beaver habitat done. I can't tell you what I'm going to do next because I can't actually remember. I have continued building already, and I've done a couple more habitats already in this zoo, but I'll be honest, I can't remember what I did next. So that's going to have to be a surprise for our next episode. You're going to have to just tune in and see what I do. But for now, that is our beavers finished. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you spending some time with me, and I do hope you've enjoyed watching me build this beaver habitat. And hopefully you can continue joining me as I continue to expand this new lunar zoo of mine. So let's just get a quick aerial shot there. I think you'll agree it's filling up quite nicely, isn't it? Still an awful lot more to go. But for now, that is going to be it. So thank you so much for your company, and do take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.